Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Wild and the Whites podcast. Welcome back. Been a little while.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So,
It's good to see you guys.
we have...
You guys been busy?
Yeah,
very, yes.
extremely.
Been on a grind.
What's that like?
So, I guess that brings us to our topic of the day. You had a little bit of beginner's luck. What was that like? Because I have never experienced that still today.
It's shocking when it happens. You're not really expecting it. And definitely some beginner's luck.
Yeah.
I've had some really good tutelage over the past few months. Yeah.
Can you define tutelage for Paul? I don't know either.
I was literally like, where's this word going?
Tutelage.
This word
I'm
going?
very good teaching.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I'm assuming that's Paul, but
Well, no, everybody. Just listening to everybody discuss things, the questions that we get, questions we discuss on camera, off camera.
yep.
Everything's just kind of come in. Not what I was expecting to have happen. It was more of just let's kind of go out and see what we can see. But yeah, it was a good time.
That's how that day started. Was let's go see what we can see and see what we find.
It started the night before.
Yes, it did start the night before.
So let's just go through the
Yeah.
story. Like, just start
It was
from
a dark
beginning
and
to
stormy
end.
night. All right, a little bit of snow had fallen, a little bit of ice,
Yeah.
and there was a car accident.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes.
There was a deer strike just up the road. Which one of our other coworkers got his first deer that night.
Of the season.
Of the season.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that Paul was working up there, and I was like, "Hey, do you got a driver for the engine? I can go up there." So I spun up there. Paul was working. I was like, "Let's go." We're sitting in the engine, just kind of BSing back and forth. And he's like, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" I'm like, "Nothing."
But I do have something to do at 2, I think is what you told me.
Yes, I had something in the afternoon,
Yeah.
and figuring around, if we go out, scout a new area, I around 2:00, if I could get out by 2, I can make my plans with the girlfriend that evening. It'll be fine.
Yep.
It had been like 2 weeks since the two of us had hung out at all. She's going taking classes and work. My work. I was doing some overtime and just hadn't seen each other. And I was like, if I go,
Paul, I have to be back.
I've got to be out. I'm hoping for 1. Let's aim for 2. 3 at the latest. And he's like, "Yeah, that's fine. I'll be coming off my shift."
Yeah, I didn't plan on the day we had, so
From the looks you were giving me the next morning, like noon.
yeah.
Like
I was done.
you didn't
I
have
was
a well-rested night. What was it? 9:30. You called me and was like, "Hey, do you still want to go?"
Yep. It was 9:30.
And asking me if I still want to go. Well, I didn't want to go in the first place, but
Right.
I'm warm. I got my fire going. I'm cozy. Got my winter
Yeah,
woolies on.
it wasn't the warmest of mornings.
No, it was nasty. There was a storm coming in.
Pretty raw out.
It was raw. We hadn't had much rain.
Everything was loud.
Oh,
So
everything was
loud.
crunchy. And I was like, "All right, let's go."
That's why I honestly didn't think we were gonna see anything. I was like,
No.
it's so loud you can walk and you can try and walk quiet, but when the leaves are
Yeah.
that brittle,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
just so loud.
Everything. And I mean, I'm not quiet. And there were definitely times I'm trying to be quiet, and I look over and Paul's just looking at me, and I'm like, "That was loud." You hit that one stick, and it breaks in like 9 places.
Yes, I have walked with you through the woods. I know. Yeah.
I'm getting better.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you always own it. Every time I look back at you, you're like, me.
Yeah.
Yep, that was me.
my bad.
Yeah, he
My
would
bad.
give me the hand like,
And it's usually because I'm like trying to be really careful and I lose balance and I'm like, whoa!
That's usually how Zach or I ends up on our back. So
Right?
at least you're staying upright.
Yet to fall. I was close once.
Yep.
Yeah, so. Oh, man. Yeah, I own it. It's me. My bad. But, I mean, that morning you were like, I've gone in here, but I'm not familiar with this area. I just
Yeah.
want to check these few spots. If we see something, we see something.
If not the end of the
Yeah.
world. Like, I wasn't dead set on anything. I had done some e-scouting on Onyx, and I found some things that looked pretty good. And after being out there a couple days prior to that and seeing what I saw, that signpost rub that I posted on our story, and so just some other sign in that area, I was like feeling pretty good about what I was seeing, but I wanted to get a little farther in and
Yeah.
see what was going on. We were probably from the truck, I'd say 3 miles at the max distance that we were at that whole day.
Yeah, the
maybe
furthest
more.
out.
Maybe a little bit more. But we went up, we started in, and then the wind changed on us, which threw off our plan of attack on how we were going to go at it. So that changed everything. We ended up backtracking,
Yep.
which backtracked around the other whole side of the mountain.
I'll shoot you a picture. I actually have my tracker for the whole day.
Oh, cool.
So I'll shoot you a little. You can see where it was like, oh, wind changed. We're gonna go this way.
Yep.
And then we start climbing up that hillside.
And that was pretty steep.
that was steep, but that was fun.
It
And
was fun.
What was fun for me was taking everything that we've talked about over the past few weeks and months, and being like, oh, you can see that this right here is a highway. There's droppings. There's not much rubbing.
No, there wasn't a lot of rubs in that area when we were going up the hill.
And no scratches.
Yeah, there was no scrapes out there.
Scrapes, scratches, whatever. Now I feel like a fraud.
It's all good.
I was successful and I don't know terminology. Anyway, but you, the two of us are just like billy goats going up this like, not sheer, but it was steep.
It was steep,
Like-
and then it plateaued out, and then it got steep again,
Yeah.
and then it plateaued out,
Yeah.
and then it got steep
And
again.
it was like knees
and it
to
kept
chest.
It kept
Yeah.
getting steeper every time it plateaued out and got
Yeah.
steep.
Yep.
It was like, oh, crap.
We finally got to the top, or this ridge where it was going from, one type of tree to the other, and it was getting a little
We were
bit
getting into
darker.
softwoods.
Yeah, and I remember Paul looking at me and he's like, "Hey,
Oh,
If-
before you even hit that section, I was going to bring up where we found the tree where someone definitely has shot at a deer before.
oh yeah, that was the same spot."
we were just transitioning into getting into like the mixed hard softwood area on top of the mount on the side of the mountain, and we're standing there talking, and I look over at the tree and I'm like, "What is that?" Or did you ask me? I don't remember.
You saw it. I was like,
I'm like, "What is that?"
"Does this look like a bullet hole?" to
You can literally see where it was like a fresh strike, and the bark had been peeled up off the tree.
Yeah.
And you could see where it looked like it glanced into the tree and ricocheted off the tree.
Huh.
But I don't know what else would have done, how deep it was and
Yeah.
everything. Like, nothing made sense other than only the other thing I can think of is an antler came through and freaking smacked it and busted
Kamikaze
it.
woodpecker.
Yeah.
And
Something.
because we were looking from the angle.
Yeah.
He was at the top where we were trying to go,
Yeah.
aiming down, because
We would have been aiming down into the hardwood, open
Yeah.
hardwoods,
Yeah.
which would have made sense.
Yeah. Yep. Cool.
But then we kept going.
we kept going, and I remember you looking at me, and we kind of had a game, set up a little game plan of we're gonna go up to the top. There's a decent plateau up here. It's the
Take a break.
take a little break when we get up there, but there's a very good chance that there's going to be something up there because it's softwoods, it's protected.
Yep.
And you look at the Onyx and the topography, and it's a peak, saddle peak.
Yep. Yep.
And so he's he's got the hair on the back of his neck's getting up. So I'm trying to be quiet as I'm bigfooting through the woods, and we're looking at similar to what we climbed up earlier this season. It was just like that, where I'm like, I want to have my rifle in my hand, but
I kind of need.
I kind of need both hands. And we get to the top, and that's where we saw our first rub.
Yeah. Yep. There was that. He had rubbed out a pretty good little pine tree.
Like fresh.
Like
It
wasn't tacky.
Within 24 hours would
Nice.
be my guess.
But-
maybe 48.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like the shavings were still on top of the leaves and they were raw.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
Yeah, and we just kind of from there we're like, You took a picture, we posted that, which is a fun little timestamp of the progress through the day, and got
I
to the
posted that twice.
top. Whoops. Service was a little.
Yeah, that's
But-
the way it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of were like, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
We didn't want to call it yet.
No, I
Because we
wasn't
hadn't
ready to
gotten
call
into
it.
the
I hadn't
saddle.
I hadn't gotten to the peak I wanted to get to.
Right.
Was the thing.
Which was the next peak.
Yep.
And it wasn't that far. You could see
You
it.
could
we were
see
there.
it.
I'm like,
There's this cool little opening, which I've got a couple of photos of, and it was just kind of neat. And have a little snack, game plan. He's gonna go to the left. When we get to this mountain-ish, this peak over here, he wants me to go to the right. All right, cool. So we kind of split up a little bit early. And I
Went
go
back
down,
up.
and it opens. It
Yeah.
opens up into this wide open area, good hardwoods, and I lose track of Paul. I'm like, let me pull back in, and I'm noticing. I'm like, man, there's a lot of fern. Are these beds? And I get a text. Hey, there's beds all over the place. And I'm like, me too. It's so cool. And I, prairie dog, and I stick my head way up, and I'm like, oh, there he is. Cool. And we kind of work our way back to each other, and then we get to this section, and it is just thick.
Yeah.
it's all 6-inch around jack pines. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
sitting there.
There's down stuff. You're kind of crawling over. And we stopped, and he
You
goes,
call that buck heaven.
Yeah.
Like that's where they just love to be,
nah,
especially after a little pressure.
all the stories I hear, yeah, I can see that. And we kind of stopped, and I remember you said it's going to be impossible to be quiet through here. And I was like,
It
okay.
was, so to give you an idea of what the ground coverage looked like, it was all moss
Yep.
with every pine bough that had
Yep.
broken off for the past 100 of years.
Oh, yeah,
on
I know
the bottom.
exactly.
So-
So
yes.
every step you
Yeah.
take, you are breaking something.
Yeah.
There's no
Yep.
sneaking. And
Yep.
it was, the wind wasn't bad.
No,
The,
we were on that kind of in the saddle.
yeah, the wind wasn't bad. It was blowing when we got up on top, or when I got up on top of that peak. It was blowing a little bit. Nothing crazy.
No, it was actually a nice breeze compared to what we had when we started, and we're like, we need to change direction. It was nice.
Yeah.
Especially with that storm front coming through, we both had that on the back of our minds, like, hey, if we're gonna do something, let's do it now, kind of a thing. Because we were expecting a lot of rain.
Yeah.
That was a lot of wind and a lot of rain, and
So
you took off. I
yeah.
don't know what happened. You
so
started going.
Why don't I do that part,
Yep.
and then we play
Yep.
into
Perfect.
what ended up happening with you.
right here, the fork in the road,
Yes.
and
So-
I chose the road less
Less
traveled.
traveled on.
Yes, you did. So I kept poking through there and made my way up. And I'm getting, so if you looked at it on the top of the graphic map, it had this little point that stuck out on it.
Okay.
That would have, looking at it on the map, made it look like the point looked over the funnel.
Okay.
The whole, where the funnel between one side of the mountain and the other side of the mountain in the ridge line. And
Like
then
a
also,
finger ridge coming out. Like
Yeah.
is that what you're? Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
and it looked over the entire big bowl of
Yep.
hardwoods that down where like the signpost rub was and all that sign that I'd seen a couple days prior.
Okay.
So I'm making my way through, and I stop for a minute, and all of a sudden I hear what sounds like a dog jogging. And I'm like, I think it's a coyote. But I can't tell. Like, dogs sound different. And, like, listening to Cannon run, I know what it sounds like.
Right.
So I'm like, I think there's a coyote up here. And I'm looking around. All of a sudden, I see a big gray bushy tail. And that goes off. I'm like, well, if I see him again, I'm going to shoot that thing because we got way too many of them. And I keep poking along. And it was probably about 5-10 minutes later. And I hear something stand up off to my right. Stands up. Takes a couple steps. And it's all those pines. So you can't see anything.
Sure. Yep.
Takes a couple steps. All I have is probably a, I don't know, 10 by 20 foot long shooting lane to look through.
Yep.
So it's only 10 feet wide, but 20 feet tall, so I can see everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. But it looks like there's another one open to my right. So I'm like, I'll try and sidestep to my right and see if I can see what that is on my right. I take that step. Well, he didn't like that. He didn't, I could tell he didn't know what I was because how he ran off, but he boogied. And when he took 2 bounds and then he was out of my sight.
Yeah.
Or out of my area. He took 1 bound, which landed him in that shooting lane. I saw the body and I was like, that's a big deer. Then I saw the horns. By the time my gun was in position, he dodged to the right and was gone.
Yep.
So meanwhile, when Buckley and I had split up, I had thought he went to my left. Because
You thought Buckley went to us.
I thought Buckley went to my left.
Because our original plan was to go to the right, but when he's like, this is some thick stuff, it's gonna be impossibly quiet, I was going to the left.
Okay.
We were going to the left, wrapping on the left side of the peak.
Okay.
So I had thought he went that way. So I keep walking a little bit. I text him saying I just jumped one. Texts are all off.
Right.
I haven't
Service
not
sucks out there.
received any of his messages at this point throughout the day.
Yep.
Since the bedding area, basically. And, excuse me, when I get to like the edge of where I saw that deer jump, all of a sudden I hear, oof. I'm like, that's on my right. Son of a bitch. Like,
When we started, there was 1 car already there.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And we never saw a trail, like where
Yeah.
he
went anything of where
Yep.
that guy went.
Yep.
So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, that guy that was here when we got here this morning, he just shot the deer I jumped off.
Right.
So I text Buckley and say, was that you? Just making sure.
Right.
I get the same text back from him. Was that you? So when
Yeah.
my message sent, it let my phone somehow receive his message. So I think.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think he's
Yeah.
talking about the shot. I'm like,
Yeah,
no, it
yeah,
wasn't me.
yeah.
Must be that guy that's cars down there. Let's go. I'm gonna go see if I can talk to him.
Yep.
He texts me, fucking down, I think was the words. And I was like, wait. And I called him. And I was like, did you just shoot? And he goes, yeah, and it's down in front of me. I need help. And then I was like, help. I'm like, okay. At this point, I'm like, I'm coming. I'm on my way. I'll be right there. Give me a minute to get down out of here. Well, Buckley's first deer's down. I jumped it up off the top of the ridge. It ran down. I guess he got it. So we're going to see what it is. We'll get back to you. So I pull up my phone, location services. I knew roughly where he was,
Yep.
but I wanted to see if like something changed.
Yep.
My phone put him like back off the rock face, but behind it,
Okay.
like behind me to the right.
Mind you, he still thinks that I'm on the other side. Right? So his phone's putting me over here. The gunshot's over here. I said that was me, but you're over here.
Like nothing was lining up with anything. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go that way. And once I get out where I can start whistling, I try to get an earshot with him. So I get out on the edge of this rock area, and I'm like, I whistle, and I hear him whistle. I'm like, all right, I think I can sneak down this way. I start going down. I whistle again. Now his whistle sounds like it's coming from this side because it's just echoing off the rocks. So now
there are like 12-foot rock faces, 20-foot rock faces, valleys where this side of this cliff just like collapsed down. And I hear him whistling.
So I start sneaking my, coming down. I'm not being quiet, so I shouldn't say sneaking, but I'm sneaking because I'm using all four extremities to try and get down this.
Right.
And then I whistle again to him, and he whistles, and now I can tell, all right, I'm coming down the right side of the right way. I know where he is now, roughly. All of a sudden, it becomes a straight to the face for a minute. I'm like, huh. All right, guess this is going to get fun. I take my gun, and I'm using my index finger and my thumb on one hand to hold a rock with the barrel of my gun in one hand. Climb down this little rock face, get down, get on back onto something you can walk on, and I walk down and around the rock. And there I see him standing there. Coach, I got that. That's on one of the videos that Zach's going to post.
Yep.
And yeah, now I'll let you...
So you go...
From the Y. So...
You begin down the road less traveled.
Yes. I'm, crawling through these branches.
Okay.
And I can see in front of me hardwood. And I'm like, man, if I could just get down there, it'd be a lot easier. But he's over there. Wait a minute. I'm supposed to be on the right side. Man, I gotta crawl back through all of this. So I do that. I crawl quietly, get out, and I'm, if you've got this hill peak in the middle, he's gone kind of to the left of it, over the top. I'm trying to go around the front of it.
Yep.
And I open up into this beautiful, and I've got a photo of it. We'll throw it because, mind you, at this point, I have twisted my ankle. I am frustrated. I am over this. It is what? Noon 30?
Yeah, probably. It was probably about 12:31 because you shot at 1:16, right?
Yeah. So it was probably noon 40, noon 30 at this point by the time I opened up and I'm just like just crunching. I'm also falling into these snags.
So you're just like, this is not fun anymore.
I'm over this.
Andrew want to go home.
Yep. All done. Da. Let's see if I can scare anything, because we haven't, at this point, there's been nothing.
Right.
We've heard nothing. The wind blowing. We haven't heard birds.
Meanwhile, you probably sound like a flock of turkeys feeding.
Probably, because there's a foot of leaves on top of everything.
Right.
I can't be quiet. I'm over trying.
Right.
I'm done. We haven't heard anything, so I'm like, if I spook a squirrel, I'll be excited. Right? So I'm coming down and I'm taking pictures. And I'm like, oh, this would be a cool spot to bring, Steve.
Yeah.
Bring Steve next year. This will be a cool spot. Finally, I get to this point where it starts wrapping around, and I take a picture. It's at 1:13, and I take the picture, and I'm like, I'm gonna show Paul. This is what he wants me to come up. Is he out of his damn mind? No, sir. No, sir. I'm gonna keep going this way, and I'll come around. This has got to get easier at some point. Over this.
Can you send, if you have these pictures, try to send them to me so I can add them into the video.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, right here. Boom. You'll see this picture.
Yeah.
And I'm just, again, I'm not sneaking, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I hear this grunt.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, huh. Paul, was that you?
So that is what you got after the shot, was that text, because of the failure in service. Got it. Yep.
So, no response. I've got a million bars, but nothing's going through. I was like, well, that doesn't work. And I'm like, all right. I had the phone, and I'm looking at the map, and I'm like, all right, so if I just go down here, right here, I'm going to go...
I'll cut that out.
There was plenty of vehicles up there today. And
People know.
People know, but we don't need more people.
And I'm looking at the phone. I'm like, I'm going to go up here. You've got to be kidding me. That's a deer. Okay. All right. Look back. It's still coming down the hill. I'm like, all right. I pull my rifle up and I look and I'm like, It doesn't have antlers. It's got antlers. Okay. And I'm like, I am like 3.5 miles from my truck. We have just hiked for 4.5 hours.
Did you really think about this before, or did you think about this after
No,
you
this
took the
is all
shot?
in this, like, no joke.
In these moments.
I saw the
And you
deer.
still...
It's coming down the hill. It grunted.
Because I'm so reactionary, and then afterwards I'm like, oh, man.
Nope.
We gotta do... Oh, okay.
I'm
yeah.
thinking to myself, A, never shot a deer before.
Right.
B, never seen a deer in the wild besides in my truck.
Right.
Almost got that one. You know, done that a few times. Never in a hunting situation.
Right.
So I pull up and I'm like, it's got antlers. Oh my god. In my mind, Paul's up there, because I did miss something that I thought was, I feel bad. As I'm coming, before I get that picture at 1:13, I get a couple of messages from you. Just saw a coyote. Pretty sure it was a coyote. Was pretty big. And I think to myself, BS. We haven't heard anything all day. Now suddenly we split up and you're hearing things? Whatever. Right? So I'm not paying attention to anything he's sending me. And he's like, oh, there's a buck. I saw the tail. It just jumped.
You got that in a text before you saw the...
Before I saw the deer, then it grunted. I saw it, I pulled up, saw the antlers, and I'm like, all right, Paul knows this is coming down towards me. He's going to be pissed if I don't shoot this. He just spooked this for me. If I don't take this shot, he's never going to forgive me. He gave it up so I could get this. Like, this is what I'm thinking, and it comes down, and again, it was clear there's nothing in my way.
Yep.
I can see this coming down, and I sit down. I get down, leg, knee, rest the rifle, and it took a look back, slowed to a nice trot, looked over, bang, puff of smoke, it lands. Has its head kind of caught up in a branch, but it's like all twisted back, and I'm like, I can't believe I just did that. Oh boy. So I send Paul fucking down. Holy fuck. Now what?
Now what?
And as we've just discovered just before recording, we haven't gotten to that part, right, of Hunting 101. We've done all of it. We've talked about tracking and scouting and creeping through the woods. We haven't done anything on what to do when you see
After the shot.
Yeah,
Right.
after the shot.
Yep.
And I walk up to it and I'm like, all right, maybe I just scared it. Because I walk up to it, mind you, the shot was, and I measured it out, it was 53.9 yards.
Oh.
Okay,
That's a very good distance based on how it was sighted in.
It was sighted in, what, a week earlier at 50 yards. So, mind you, it's been dry all day. Nothing, we're not like high fire danger, all this stuff. I take, like, the first step, mud up to my ankles. I'm wearing hiking shoes. I'm wearing these pants, hiking shoes, a sweatshirt, a t-shirt, a hoodie. Like,
Right.
That's it.
And an orange vest.
An orange vest.
Right.
I'm not here to hunt. I'm here to just scout out.
I'm here to meander.
Yeah, I'm hiking with a rifle, right? So up to my ankle in mud, and I'm like, really? Really? And I'm looking at it. I'm like, it is bone dry out there, and somehow underneath this leaf litter that I have stepped in is this one spot of mud. My foot is soaked.
That it was. That it was. When I got to you, your foot was brown as shit and just sopping wet.
I took the next step. I'm like, seriously? And I'm like, well, I'm in it. And I'm like, Just squish. Finally, I get out of it, and I get to the deer. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, huh. There isn't any blood. Mind you, we had just shot the deer the night prior.
Right.
There was a lot of blood.
Yes.
Boom! Nothing. There is not a lick of blood on this deer. And I'm like, I can't find a bullet hole. Nothing. And I'm like, huh, maybe I missed and it just jumped and got its neck snapped in this and it killed itself. How do I explain that to the game warden? Huh.
Luck.
And I'm like, well, maybe I just scared it fainting goats. I don't know. Boom!
Narcolepsy, boys.
So I sit down. There's a tree maybe 8 feet from this deer, and I sit down on it. And I'm like, taking a drink, a little snack, and I'm like, I got the shakes, right?
Oh yeah.
What they call buck fever. And I'm like, oh
yeah.
boy. I'm like, all right. And I'm like, that's when I said, now what?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know what to do. I've got no idea. Where are you?
I am sitting here beside myself. What goes on now, boys?
And we're in this bowl. There's nothing. There's no cell service, nothing. And I'm just like, am I gonna have to deal with this myself? I don't know what to do. I haven't watched that far in the podcast. And then I get a phone call. And I'm like, Paul, I don't have any service. I don't know, and I'm not hearing anything back. I'm just like, I can't hear you. Are you talking? I'm not giving him a chance to talk, but I'm just and finally I stop and he's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm right here. I don't know.
I know right where I am. How do you not know where I am?
I'm trying to send my location. It's not going. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, are you okay? And I'm like,
Well, that was
I'm
nice.
fine. The deer's dead. And he's like,
You should be asking him if he's okay. Like,
and I just remember you saying, was that you that shot? And I'm like, yeah.
That's what I texted you, is what you said.
Again, in my mind, you know I'm down here. You just pushed this buck to me. And like you're up top, like laughing, like ha ha ha. Well, look at you dance, and I'm just like, what do I do? And I just hear on his phone, like through the phone, on his end, he's just crashing through branches. He goes, "Don't move, I'm on my way." Just like linebacker through trees, just. And I'm like, okay, I hope you know where I am. Like, I didn't tell you where I am, but looking back, we've talked about it. He heard the gunshot, so if that was it, he's coming. And I'm like, I gotta be quiet. I don't want to ruin this for anybody else. Maybe there's somebody else hunting nearby.
nah, screw it.
Well, when he... So we start whistling, and like hindsight, I should have been like, Pa! Pa! Down here! Over here! Like grandma.
Right?
It's like, hey, Zachy! Zachy! Come here! You know, sorry, that's gonna be really loud. You may have to editing the voice.
That's okay. I got plenty of time to edit coming up.
But I just remember him like whistling, and I'm whistling, and finally he's like, "Yep," and I'm like, I don't know what that means, and I just hear him like, I'm coming, and just crunch, 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 poof, crunch, 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 poof, and all I could think of was that you're like getting to a rock and having to jump down, getting to the edge of a rock,
what I was
and
doing.
jumping
That
down.
is
100% what I was doing.
And then all of a sudden, I'm looking at the deer, and like I'm looking up here. All of a sudden, you pop out over here, and you're just like, "Holy! Look at the beam! Oh my!" And I'm like,
There he is, the buck killer. There he is. Oh my fucking god. That's got horns. That's got fucking horns. Holy shit, look at those beams.
I don't know what that means.
Is this a good one?
I was like, did I do good? I don't know.
Right.
And like in my mind, I've now calmed down. I've looked at the GPS. I've calculated where we are, and the horror has set in. Oh boy.
What do you think?
It's a lot of work.
Mountain deer, baby.
Middle of fucking nowhere.
Came up off that ridge up there. Buckley was down here. I was up there. Came down off that ridge, he said. Go for it.
Popped it just above this birch. Collapsed right here.
Perfect shot placement. Great job. Awesome deer, Buckley. This is great.
Help! I'm in danger. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, start sending messages. I need help with this.
Right.
And he, Paul's excited. I'm excited. All right, how are we going to get this out? We kind of move it around to prepare to, gut it. And it starts to bleed. And I'm like, I did get it. I in that moment.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, there's blood right there.
And it was just a trickle.
Right.
He also, using the 308, that only puts that small hole.
Yeah.
And it didn't come out the other side,
No.
I don't think. So there was no exit wound. It just went in.
Yeah.
So it all stayed in the neck.
The opposite shoulder was shattered.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing
Oh,
it
okay.
hit the other side.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
He must have shot when it turned back and had its leg forward enough.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Walk like an Egyptian. Sorry. So I'm just like, this is gonna be a day. And he looks at me and goes, I hope you didn't have any serious plans. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, oh, we're gonna be out here all day. And into the night. I'm like, come on.
How long can this take? Come on, like, it's not that big.
Mind
we
you,
just carry
because I
it
had
out.
already been out there, I knew what we had to go through to
Right.
get to the trail,
Right.
which was a crap ton of blowdowns and damaged trees from a huge windstorm a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, this thing's going to get hung up. It's going to get
Yep.
snagged on everything.
Yep.
And I'm like, there's no easy way to do this. Even if we had a jet sled at that point,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have helped.
Honestly, a jet sled might have hindered it even more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was the whole reason, like, I didn't want to gut it up
Yeah.
there, because I'm like, having a big gaping hole in its chest,
Yeah, not
it's going
good.
to catch on every stick that's sticking up, every branch that's hanging off of every tree. There was a couple trees I dragged it right up and on
Yep.
over.
Yeah.
And I mean, the other awful part about this is, how are your shoulders?
Shit.
How are my elbows?
Right.
Shit. And he just looks at me and he goes, I'll go first. Like, we tried together, but I mean, I'm carrying a rifle
Yeah.
with no sling. His rifle keeps falling off his, and he's trying to get hit. I've got my pack with like a makeshift like clip on it, and I'm like trying to hold this, drag this.
Yep.
And he's like, let me drag it. So he takes the first thwack.
Yep.
We find the kind of the top rocky part of the brook as it's starting to like really form, and it's just like ankle breakers everywhere because it's covered in leaves. Oh my goodness. Like 3 or 4 times I just watched as he just went down. I'm like, ugh.
I stepped, but because of like the feet of leaves, I can't tell what's under them.
Right.
So I planted one of my feet while I was dragging, and it was a hole, like the creek bed had dropped. And I sunk to my knee,
Yeah.
and then just went right onto my face.
Yep. Yeah.
He
Went
just
down.
goes, "You okay?" And I'm like, "I'll be fine."
And then we pull up Onyx, and I'm like, we're a third of the way to the trail, which is off of the trail, which is off of the road.
Right.
So we're not even to the
The
trail,
secondary.
the secondary,
trail.
tertiary.
Yeah. Tertiary.
Look at you, big
Yeah.
words.
Wow.
We're on
Paul
that one.
recognized that one.
Yeah, that was
I
good.
did.
So it's just
Rivers
like
and streams.
Oh my god, good job. I'm so proud of you.
it just it was rough going for a little bit. We finally make it to the secondary trail.
Yep.
And he looks at me, and we're both just
Dogging.
we're just woo wiped.
Yeah.
And I look at Paul. I'm like, here, take my bag, take my rifle.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna go get help.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
Smart
get
choice.
service
Yeah.
to go get help, because I've messaged a couple of people,
Yeah.
but I'm not getting anything back. I don't know if anything's going out.
Yep.
The girlfriend got a message, and like maybe 2 minutes after you left, I got something back, and it was like, huh? And I'm like, because I think it was just like, I got one. And no clue.
Yeah.
And of course, out of context, so I didn't even try, and I looked at the map, and I was like, 1.2 miles on this trail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, don't be a sucker. Don't let Paul down. You're gonna have to carry your weight. He just did all that. Time to nut up. Thank God you had that webbing. And I remember just looking up at this hill that I've got to drag this deer up, and I'm like, yeah, it's all downhill from here, right, Paul? All downhill. As we got to the trail, and it was kind of flat,
Yeah.
and then it went down,
Yeah.
and then it went up,
Yep. Yep.
and then it leveled off.
Yeah.
But it was like, all right, 5 feet. Just drag it 5 feet. Not me 5 feet. Deer 5 feet. All right, that was 6 feet. I'm done. All right, 10 feet.
Yep.
And it just kept going. Finally, my elbow popped, and I was like, okay, I'm done.
Yep.
Right here. And I just sat down. And I was like, all right, I could probably do a couple more. Waited about 10 minutes, dragged it another 15, 20 feet. When I got to this river. I called it a river.
Yeah,
He didn't tell me there were any rivers. It's a brook, maybe about a foot
He
wide.
texted me, he goes, you didn't tell me you had to cross a river, and now in my head, on my way back up to him, I'm going, where the fuck is he going with this deer? I'm going, where is he going? He's going farther away from the truck.
Going
I
the
know where the
wrong
brook
way.
is,
Right,
down,
right,
down
right,
the trail
right,
the
right.
other way. I'm like, oh, he's going the wrong way. Oh, crap. I'm like, Zach, please hurry up with the jet sled, because this is going to be even worse. All these thoughts are going through my head. Luckily, I had made contact with you. I talked to Clarky. I talked to
Spring.
Spring came out with
Yeah.
us. He's an ox.
Can we just like actually give him a solid shout out
know
on
what,
this? Like
way
seriously,
too big.
that man is a tank.
Yeah, he is.
I knew that guy was strong, but after seeing that, like we're walking out, and I'm like, "Hey, you want to break?" He's like, "Nah, I'm good." Like he's not even breaking a sweat
No, he
dragging
put
this
that
thing
thing
up.
around his
And then
waist
all,
and just
yeah,
do-do-do-do-do.
and then all of a sudden, one of his kids is like, "I'm tired, Dad." He's like, "Okay," picks him up, throws him on his shoulders, and just keeps on going. So now he's carrying his kid and dragging the deer at the same time,
And the
we're
deer-
just standing there like, "What the heck's going on?"
Unknown at this point, but later found out dress was 160.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
160 pounds dragging behind him, plus, what, 40 pounds on his shoulders?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And just like, bah, 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 dad of the year, having a great time. The kids had a blast.
Yeah.
It was really funny when I called him to come up. He goes, I'm picking the kids up. What's up? And I was like, well, Buckley just shot a bruiser of a deer. You want to come give us a hand? He goes, can the kids come? I'm like, I don't care. It's up to you. And he's like, yeah, I'll bring them. I'll load them in the truck. We'll be right up. And I was like, sounds good.
So it wasn't a river, but in
Yeah,
my
back
mind,
to the-
I was so exhausted.
yes.
There was a rock that someone had put down, because this is a bike trail,
Yep.
and they put a rock there to, and it is maybe 4 inches, 5 inches, and I'm like, well, I could get a foot there, and if I drag it across that, it's not going to go into this ditch of a freaking hole that we got here. Everything seemed so much
Right.
exaggerated at that point.
Yeah.
My back hurts, my knees are killing me, elbow's gone, all the complaints. I'm 83 years old. I can't be doing this kind of stuff. I get it across that, and I'm like, all right, let's take 10. I'm just about out of water. I'm tired. And then I hear the sweet, sweet sound. You want a beer? Yeah, buddy. Yes, sir, I do. And he's like, I got help coming. Don't you worry about it. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. He had changed at this point. He's in comfy stuff. I'm just like thrilled to see him. I'm just like, oh. And I'm knowing this now about the river thing. You're thrilled to see me so much closer.
I was so happy when I came over the rise and you were standing right there. Or sitting on that rock looking at your deer. I'm like, oh, thank God he's right there.
Yeah.
Oh, this makes my day way better.
Right? So, meanwhile, can I just...
Yep, yeah, you're
a tidbit? So you bug out, go back to the truck with everything, and you start making calls. So, that day, I
called you from halfway between at the break from the tertiary trail and the main trail.
Yep.
Is where I called you.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I was huffing and puffing, but you got what I was saying.
So I'm like, I had just finished up lunch and gotten to a spot that I was going to sit in the evening, which was like one of my rut funnels that actually was producing any type of buck activity this year, which most of them hadn't. And I was just like, I'm going to sit here for the evening. I had all my like layers of ultra cold weather gear on, like ready to not move a muscle for hours, right?
When you came up, you looked like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
I didn't change, no. Like,
You were like...
yeah. So like, and I sat down at probably 12:30, so I was only there for maybe an hour and 15 minutes, right? And I had service, thank God, and I like feel my phone start to vibrate in my pocket, so I pull it out and I see that it's you calling. And I just like had this, like, I'm not gonna lie, I had this moment of like, fuck you, Paul. And then I almost put it back in my pocket, then I was like, wait a second. Because I got like a wicked bad headspace at part of hunting season. So I was like, I hate the world. Nothing I'm doing is working and I don't like this at all. And so then like, when I saw that originally, I was like, I don't want to talk to you right now. And then I was like, wait. So I answer it, and you're like, the first words out of your mouth was like, Buckley got an awesome buck, dude. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's literally what I heard through the phone.
Like the first, and so of course I'm like, hello. I don't 100% know, but I know, right? And you're like, Buckley got an awesome buck. I'm like, oh my God, where are you? That's so great. And you're like, you know where we are? Like, blah, 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 blah. Like, can you help? And I'm like, yeah, I still have this sled in my truck. I'll be right. I just gotta get out of the woods. I'll be right there. And so then I just like I pack up all my stuff and like I don't have a backpack, everything like that. I don't even put it over my shoulder. I'm just like running out of the woods, like carrying everything. And then I'm like, wait, I'm like a wannabe content creator. Whip up my phone. I'm like, record a video of me running out of the woods right now. This is so great. This is gonna be. Buckley's got a big buck down. I'm getting out of the woods. Gotta go drag, baby. Gotta go drag. Years later, throw it.
All I
in my
picture
pocket.
is like the old Yiddish woman who's got like buckets and bags in her hands that's just like running through the river. Just like,
So that moment I crested the little hill in front of you and I got super excited to see you guys. That's exactly what I did the whole way out of the woods. So I'm like, I get out to the road and I run down the road to my truck now. There's two things in the world that make me run in life. One, when my buddy gets a deer, and two, my 3-year physical fitness test.
and number two is kind of like
Yeah. So I run down to my truck. and I'm sucking wind like crazy. So I'm ripping off like my jacket. I'm throwing everything in the truck, and then I'm like, dude, you're gonna hurt getting out there. Like you are gonna be hot in all these layers. And then I just got stubborn. I was like, screw it. So then I jump in the truck. I was in the town of Hebron.
Yeah. You were a good ways away from us.
I was like half an hour away. I made the drive in a little bit under half an hour. And
half hours with us going fast as normal.
Right.
So
right.
I can only...
So I park and I get the jet sled out, and as soon as I park, Paul Spring pulls in with his kids. And so I talked with him for a little bit, and then we just started heading up, and his kids were playing and doing their thing, so I just was like on a mission beeline. But it's not like they felt like super far behind or anything like that, but I was on a mission and beelining it up there. And like I just like threw on orange and went. Well, there's only one thing that means. And so I knew that Paul hadn't been out there before, Paul Spring. And so I like get to a junction and I stop and I like use my boot to make an arrow so that he knew where to go. And then I just like carried on. And then all I remember is like getting to a point where I'm like, okay, my excitement's a little bit done and I've been running this whole time and I don't run. So like maybe you should just calm down for a second and like take a breather. And then I just hear, and I'm just like, oh, they're right there. And I just start running up over the hill. And there you guys sitting right there.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, what's this? Because it is just a massive man running at you.
Massive blob of orange.
Right.
It looks like
Orange,
a traffic cone coming through the woods at this point. 'Cause that
camo
jacket he's got on.
Yep.
That are you were cold weather gear. There was layers on layers, and all I'm seeing is just stuff falling out of your pocket.
Yeah,
and
your
I'm like,
cell phone went flying.
and I'm like, dude, and you're like, I don't care, come here. And I'm like, okay, and I
Yeah.
big hug.
I didn't even notice, and thank you for picking up everything afterwards to give to me, because I still barely noticed. Like, I literally went to, like, grab my phone, and you looked at me, and you're like, he's getting your phone for you right now. I'm like, oh, thanks, go on.
Because it was a big hug for me, and you're like, oh man, that's great. And then you look, and you're like, oh my god, look at that, that's huge. You're like,
Yep.
And then Spring and the boys got there.
Yep.
And we had calmed down a little bit.
Yep. And then
The damage was done. My unproud moment of.
I think I remember asking, so are you going to gut it out? And you're like, me?
Moi? Luckily, Paul and I we'd talked about this because we'd thought about gutting it out before we even started dragging.
And I had tried to get him to do it.
And I had a
I pulled out
moment.
the knife and I was like, you want to go?
I had a moment of I could do this, which was very quickly followed with I'll help.
Yeah, help.
And then we decided no.
Nope.
Well, let's get it over these trees. We don't want to get it caught on the stuff. And then we got to the next part, and I'd been thinking about this the whole way out, because I'm thinking to myself as I'm dragging this up, I could lose a lot of weight right here.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can make this a lot easier on me.
Oh, it would have been a ton easier.
And
50 pounds easier.
Oh, yeah.
there was actually a moment that I had my dull ass knife, and I was like, I could do this. And I'm like standing over this poor thing, and I'm like, this is gonna be a mess.
Don't do it with the dull knife.
Well, and I'm just like, nope, I can't. Like, so there was 3 attempts.
Yep.
And then Spring gets there with his boys. One of them's, what, 5 and 8?
Yeah, something like that. I am so bad with
And they're
kids'
both
ages.
like, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, And then one of them's like, that's disgusting. And I'm like, yes, it is.
Right. But he just said it.
Yeah. I was experiencing it. As Paul's just like,
Right?
I also at that point was thinking in myself, I do not want to be out here past dark.
Yeah.
I'd rather just get
Get
this
it
thing
done.
out of the woods. Because otherwise, if we had all day, I was going to sit there and make it painstakingly
Oh, yeah.
slow.
Yeah.
until
If that-
you
if
got
that was
your
a
hands
morning
in it.
kill,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
It was
let's
a
just
morning
sit
kill.
here all day.
100%. We
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
going to get you in there.
And-
Yeah.
But it's now 4 o'clock.
oh, it was
Or maybe
later.
later.
It was dusk. So yeah, it was like
4:30. And I was like, I am not sitting out here any
No, I don't
longer.
blame you.
I am done.
I don't blame you at all.
And then Paul just manhandled it up to where I wanted it. And I was like,
He's like, here you go,
kind
one
sir."
hand.
Right?
Let's hold it here.
I was talking to him too. We missed a good opportunity. We could have done a little video on how to gut out a deer. I didn't even think about that until afterwards.
When you guys get yours, we'll do it then.
He's getting awful cocky.
I'm allowed to be. Beginner's luck or not, I still got it.
I still got 2 days left.
Right? I still got Vermont next weekend.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for.
And then the thing that I had read about, I had thought about many times, never lose your license.
Your tag.
Well, the tag, which had my license
Yes.
on it, but yeah, never lose your tag. First thing we did, we put it in a Ziploc bag and taped it onto the antler.
Because I didn't have my zip tie to do my zip tie trick to the
Yep.
ear.
Yep.
I usually punch a hole in the ear and then zip tie the ear
Yep.
completely closed in a ball so the tag stays in the ear and can't
That's-
fall out. Is my normal trick.
Yep. I
'Cause
actually
tape-
got these big ass safety pins that I use to do the same thing with. That
Yep.
you just poke them through the ear on both sides and they just sit inside the ear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Noted. Again, we haven't
So
had that
we'll do
episode.
that video soon on after the shop.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to learn a lot.
You already did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Some of it.
You
In-
learn
in-
like we did.
in about a foot and a half of leaves,
Yep.
got out the deer, put the deer in the sled, and was it you?
No.
So somebody
Spring goes,
Yeah.
where'd the tag go? And I was like, it was on the antler. Or is it still sitting on my backpack? And he goes, no, when I dragged it over here, it was on the antler. And I was like, well, fuck. Such.
And Paul almost gained a deer that day.
Yeah. I had my backpack on and I was ready.
The rest of us started reaching for our wallets like, I got my license.
sucker. This is a good deer. I'll tell you this one. And I mean, I had the backpack on. I was ready to go home, grab
Yep, you were going to come home and
grab my duplicate and
Yep.
at least get something on it. And
That's why I keep one in my truck and one on me.
yeah, well, because it also
For
is the
next time.
fishing license, it's in my tackle box.
Yeah. There's a
Yep.
duplicate copy fishing game. Sorry if you're listening to this.
Right.
There's a duplicate copy of my entire hunting license and everything in my truck at all times in case the one I have on me while I'm in the woods gets screwed up,
Yep.
gets soaked, shredded, whatever.
Yep.
I still have my tags for when I get out.
Yeah.
It's not like you can use it again. The
Right.
tag, I don't know why they throw a fuss about having a duplicate license.
Yeah.
I really don't. Especially when you're printing it on regular
Yeah,
printer
paper.
paper now.
Right,
that
right.
You try and tear the tag out to tape to the. If you have multiple tags, like you have your bear tags and
right,
everything, it's like,
right.
what do you want me to do?
I literally, like, one day I was at the grocery store and I saw one of those, like, tiny pairs of scissors and I was like, that's going in my bag. So I
a
could
good
just
idea.
cut out the tag because I'm like, that $3 or whatever it is for that tiny little pair of scissors is so worth it to me.
I just wrapped the whole license around
That's
it.
that's
and
what
call
we
it.
did.
And I'll print another one out.
Whole
Save the
license.
PDF to your
Yeah.
computer and just print it out when you need it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we want to dragging it out, and again, Spring just
Did it. Yeah.
animal pulled it out.
Dude.
Like Paul said, it still hasn't hit. But
Which I can't thank him enough because my hips were done. My back was done.
My shoulders were cooked.
Can't thank him enough. And then the guy who parked in front of us that was there before us pops out of the woods.
Yep.
And we meet him on the trail, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't hear a shot." Well, it was around between 1 and 1:30. He goes, "Oh, yeah, I was having lunch at the car at that point." Oh, okay. And we wound up running into another guy back at the truck when we were waiting for you to come back.
Mokio came out.
Yep.
We wound up stopping up, and he's like, everybody takes lunch. Nobody ever shoots a deer in the middle of the day.
Right.
Except now people shoot deer in the middle of the day.
Right. Right.
But it was kind of funny. The more people that kind of hear the story, the more I genuinely, very proud of it, very happy with it. But I actually feel a little guilty because it is that beginner's luck. It is a really nice. It's a really nice deer, and you hear all these guys that have put in hundreds of hours in tree stands and thousands of hours when you calculate it all up with scouting and the time you spend at home looking at your cameras and your e-scouting and just all of it to come up with nothing. Like, I genuinely feel bad because how much time did I put in? Well, the time I've done with you and the time I've done with you and fiddling around with Onyx and it comes down to what you had said before you left. It's luck.
So yeah, like hunting comes down to persistence by being out there even when you don't want to, and even when it doesn't seem super convenient. Just be out there because you never know what's going to happen, and then luck. And then I'll even add in the fact that it's actually like Mountain Deer talks about it, and I like their philosophy in this of like, there's a name on every deer, and when that deer isn't meant for you, it's not going to all come together. But when that deer is meant for you, it will. And so that buck didn't have Paul's name on it, didn't have my name on it, didn't have Jim's name on it, didn't have anybody else's name on it. He had your name on it, and that was meant for you. In that moment, on that day, with everything that you've done and everything that you've looked into and the way that you can enjoy that and you can honor that deer's life by taking it, it was meant for you, and it means something so much to you that cannot be diminished by anything because it's not meant for anybody else.
Right.
And I had to go off of that to even say the reason that deer I think was meant for you is I think that deer is going to now drive you to actually be more into this
100%.
because I've already seen a change in your attitude about the whole thing since this has happened.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think about
phenomenal.
that with a lot of hunters, because like you'll see some hunters that maybe like, and I just noticed this as like a trait of you. I'm not trying to take shots or anything like that, but like, this will be that catch. If you went this year and didn't get anything, you would do it again next year.
Oh yeah.
But it would start to peter out, right?
Oh,
you would have
absolutely.
that. And there's a lot of those. So those kinds of people that need that, I see it, and I'm like, they're the ones getting those things. And then there's like the idiots like me that are just stubborn,
Hi.
right? I didn't want to say it, but us too,
Yeah.
where we're like, no, I've got to go out no matter what, and I don't care. Like, I haven't gotten a deer in 4 years, but I'll just still keep going out because, I like being cold. I like not seeing anything, and I just like being out here and just doing things, Like, I don't really know why
At this
I do
point,
it.
I look at it as exercise and
Yeah.
it's
Right.
me going for a hike with a rifle in my hand.
Right.
At this point,
Yeah.
especially the past couple days.
Like I say it dude, I saw plenty of deer. I had a great season. I kind of my New Hampshire season's over. I have Vermont muzzleloader next weekend, and it was great. Like, and I say it like I'm stubborn, but like honestly, like I got a lot of enjoyment out of this season. I had a period of time during this season where I got very negative, And I called myself out on it, actually, while I was out in the woods. I had this like conversation with myself of just like, dude, you need to cut this out, man. Like, this is not cool. This is why you're not seeing anything. You are putting the wrong vibes out. You are not happy right now, and why are you even doing this if you're not enjoying it, right?
Yep.
And then after that, like, I like purposefully changed and called myself out and kept doing that and got back into it. And then all of a sudden, like, I had 2 final days, and I just decided to go places I had never been before and just see new ground. And I ended up running into a group of doe, right? And I got to hang out with a group of doe for like 30, 40 minutes, right? I didn't see a buck. I didn't shoot a buck, right? But like, then it was like that same thing of like telling you what's going on, right? In the world, like in fate, it's like, there you go. You did the right thing. I'm putting 4 doe in front of you to watch because that you did the right thing finally, right? That's the way I looked at it.
Yep.
Like that was my sign of like, you've come back into it and you're good, right?
This isn't your year.
Yeah. Right.
You stick with it. That's
Right.
kind of like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Here's some dough.
Yep.
Check it out.
Right. And I look at it as like that confirmation of like, you made the right choice of altering your mindset because you wouldn't have had this reward if you had kept that mindset up. But you get this little reward
Yep.
and carry on next year, right?
Yep.
Keep doing what you're doing. So,
I've seen more deer this year than I've seen in the past 5 years, probably.
Yep.
That I've just bumped into, whatever. And I think it's because I've been in the right mindset this year.
Nice.
My mindset this year has been completely, the season is not about me. I'm not here for me. I want to
Yep.
spend time with my friends in the woods. I want to get people out that haven't gotten a deer. I want to get people out with new people and see what they think of it. See if they're into it. See if they want to
Yeah.
keep going with it. All that type of stuff. I am though gonna say I'm loving that I'm watching snowfall right now
Yeah.
for tomorrow morning.
yeah,
Because I'm
right.
going by myself tomorrow
I
morning.
wish I could.
Yep.
But I got sidetracked, squirrel. But that's been my focus this year. Besides you, I've been taking my buddy Sean out, who
Yep.
hasn't gotten a deer around here, and I don't know how long. Went out with Cody and his son today, which was
Yep.
that was a blast. Like just doing that type of stuff, and it's been great. Went
Same
out-
thing. Yeah. I mean,
me and Clarky went out and had a great morning
Yep.
together, and for me, hunting is not just about going out and getting a deer. It's the experiences, it's the camaraderie that comes along with it, it's the personalities and that type of stuff that
Yep.
also plays a big part.
And I gotta say, like, deer or not, the places that I've gone has been amazing.
yeah.
Places you'd never go
Right.
if
Yeah.
you didn't have a reason.
100%. Like, yeah, I was taking some pictures of some spots because I was like, this would be cool to check out next year. But also, this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, you get to the top of some of these knolls and you're looking down and you're just like, wow, this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you and I went out over in, was it Rumney?
Hebron.
Hebron.
Yep.
And, you know, we went on that hike. That was a great hike.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome. So it's like all of these things that you're just like, this is right here.
Right.
I can do this.
Yeah.
And it's off trail. It's into the wild, and it's awesome to see it. Where you're just like, I can sit here all day and not see a single person.
Mm-hmm.
You might not see a deer, or you do.
Right. You hear me.
You know, but again, it comes down to luck.
Yeah. It does. And I
You know,
Yeah.
that deer had the option to go right or left. You spooked it left or right. It went right. 50-50.
And I thought you were on my
but,
left.
like, think of all the circumstances, right? Like, when you guys are like, oh, wind's wrong, we got to go back this way. If you guys, if that wind hadn't changed and you guys had just gone up there, or even just the timing of that, if that changed, that situation had been half an hour different,
At
like
1:13,
everything lining up, right? Like it's
I-
crazy when you start to think about
I
all
stopped.
the things that come together.
I stopped, took a photo, and was like, huh. He's got to be crazy if he thinks I'm climbing up this. If I hadn't done that, that was
Right.
30 seconds. That would have been closer that it may have seen me.
Or heard you walk, yeah.
Because I'm not being
Because
quiet.
you're about to step in that mud.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah.
wasn't being quiet either. He had told me, he left this part out, but he was walking right before that picture, kicking sticks and kicking
Yeah,
the
I was.
leaves
I
and
was just
wandering around.
like heel toe, just
Yep.
here we are.
Two
You know,
more steps, you would have hit that mud and gone, what the? And that
Yeah.
deer would have been running down at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I would have been looking down like, oh, come on. These aren't waterproof. Son of a...
Right.
Oh, come on.
Right.
But it comes down like there's everybody's super stoked.
Yeah.
It's nice. There are definitely those people that are like, congratulations.
Yeah.
And I feel bad. How many deer did
shouldn't.
you see this year?
26.
I saw one,
Yeah, man.
and that's where I feel genuinely bad.
But I saw 26 deer in a season in New Hampshire. Like that's
Which is
a
you
lot
know,
of freaking deer for New Hampshire,
especially
right?
New Hampshire, where you're not seeing a lot of deer.
Right. Yep. And the other thing too is like I was 25 yards away from an amazing age class deer,
Yeah.
which a lot of people don't get to do either. Yes, I missed it. But
I was waiting to see.
I'll admit it all day long.
I saw
I'll
a
admit it.
bobcat though, so it's mixed up for it.
Yeah. Future episode, I will get into that story. We're at
When it
an hour 10 minutes, so we
when
won't
it
do it
doesn't
on
hurt
this one.
so much.
No,
It's fine.
it's fine.
Everything's fine.
I'm completely over it. Yep.
So maybe sometime in the spring we'll talk about it.
No, but like again, yeah, it eats away at me that like something as simple as, I sighted in my rifle a week earlier and that scope, something happened to it in the middle of that cost me that moment. Like I can go down that rabbit hole, or I can go down the rabbit hole, which is what I just try to keep reminding myself that like, dude, you were in the presence like that close to a deer that a lot of people go so long without ever being that close to. You know what I mean?
His track is
So-
longer than my phone case.
I know, man.
That is
Like,
a monster. I cut
he
his track
is-
the other day, and it was
He's
2
huge.
days old.
Yeah.
And we should talk about this on another episode
Yeah.
if you want.
I mean, we can go about. We could go just about that deer because I had him on camera all August, and then he disappeared. Right? I thought he was going to be hitting that scrape that I was going crazy over, the one that we hunted over with Steve. Mm-hmm. And then he just disappeared, and then he just
That whole
pops out
area
that
was
one day.
wild.
Yeah.
I have an
with
opinion
signs.
on that deer. We can talk about
Yeah.
it at another point.
Yeah. But I definitely. I have my opinions of it too, so I'd love to know what you think of. But
Well, and that's kind of the thing,
it's
right?
so cool about like the fact that yes, it didn't all come together, but he doesn't have my name on him.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to experience that. I got to be that close. I got to learn something from him, right? I think that the one thing that eats me away is only the stuff of my Monday morning quarterbacking. Like if I look back into that
can't
moment
look
and I
back.
live back into that moment, I did everything that I could do, everything right with the information that I had at that time. Mm-hmm. Since then, I'm like, yeah, when he turned, I don't think he's actually walking away because there's that giant blowdown that he was about to walk into. I really, really feel like he was walking around that blowdown and not about to walk away, especially with what I learned a couple days after that from the old timer that saw him run up the hill a couple hours after that. He was just going around that blowdown to go up that route up the hill, and he would have probably walked right out into the trail in front of me broadside. That's what eats me away, is all the stuff I've learned since then, right?
It's okay.
Not,
It's good that he's over this.
Yeah.
I'm so not over it.
Just so everyone knows, Zach is talking about a buck of a lifetime.
Yeah.
I'll say it for him.
It doesn't have his name on it, but it in time.
Maybe that. Yeah, I don't know. Yes, but no.
Yes, but no, yes,
No,
yes.
yes, no. I don't know what I'm saying. You guys had this
But
podcast. I can't.
Here's the thing that I take away from this, right? We've been gone for a little bit. It's been a very busy few weeks.
Yes.
You guys have been putting a ton of hours in the woods. You know,
Yep.
me not so much.
Every time. It's just for you too. He knows I don't care.
But yeah, it's we're coming back. We've got a lot of stories, a lot of photos, a lot of
Yeah.
videos.
Oh, I got some stories from the other day.
It's
We'll do. Why don't we do an episode just as like a wrap up on hunting season?
Yeah.
We'll just do a wrap on it where we can all kind of like, talk about that,
hop,
and and then we can put a wrap on it and move on to some other topics.
shed
I
hunting.
still got 2 days left, and you still got a weekend left. So
I know.
we should wait on that
Yeah,
episode.
Yep.
ex-
No,
I think so.
you know.
No, absolutely. And then that way we can fully put a bow on it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then we can move on
Put it
to
under the tree.
Maple syrup season.
shed hunting and ice fishing and all these other topics. And
Can't wait.
Yeah. So
Syruping, tapping trees, getting some lines going. If the snow sticks, I might get out on my sled. We'll see.
yeah.
Be good.
I've
So-
already been skiing once this year. I'm excited for the snow.
It's gonna be a good winter.
Congrats, man. Though,
Thank you.
I am like
No.
in all
Yep,
seriousness,
congrats.
congrats because
No.
that's freaking awesome.
It
dude.
is.
It
I'm
really is.
psyched.
it back?
I did.
Oh, you already got it
Yeah,
back.
yeah. The head's outside, so we'll take a look.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other part of the story.
Mm.
The drag marks and my comment about how you could probably still get a shoulder mount out of it, and then your comment to me later on at the truck. Do you remember what you told me?
No.
You're like, so you think I should mount it, huh? And I'm like, dude, you do whatever you want, man. Like it's your deer, whatever. And he goes, I don't know if I want it like looking at me.
I didn't even know about this.
And I'm like, well, you can always do like a Euro mount. He's like, what's a Euro? Like a Euro what?
We haven't covered any of this
Right.
yet.
So I showed him mine from last year, and he's like, oh, I like that.
I could
That's
do that,
So
yeah.
that's why he chose the Euro.
Well, the Euro mount was like, yeah, I could do that. And then someone's like, yeah, if you go shoulders up, get that mounted. That's a once in a lifetime deer. You're gonna want that mounted. I'm like, well, how much is that gonna? They're like $700-800.
Oh,
like,
I know a guy that'll do it for $5. And that's actually pretty
$5.
good. Yeah.
And then somebody else was like, yeah, Euro mount's like $180. I was like, sold.
Yeah.
Sold. Broke. Gonna do a Euro mount.
Yeah.
I'll remember it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Euro mounts better, honestly. That's
Yeah.
just my
Really
opinion.
cool.
Yeah.
And the guy that I sent you the number of, he does a really good job. He'll put it on the wood for you. He'll bleach it all out. It's
Nice.
Yeah. It looks really good.
Cool.
So, and he does it pretty inexpensive. So
Yeah.
usually around 150.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of options of things that I didn't know. Where do I take it? So there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that we're gonna have to cover.
Yeah, but I mean,
coming
that's-
episodes. We weren't expecting this.
But that's the way you learn.
Yeah, and
That's the way you and I learn.
a lot of learning happens.
Oh, I just did something. Now what do I do? Like, how many times has that happened to us, right? So,
Now
Oh, yeah.
what?
yeah. Yep.
Back in the day, I just used to process them with my dad
Yeah.
in the garage, and then after he stopped and things changed, it was like, okay, now what are we doing? All right, we'll go use during bear season. We'll use a butcher because
Yeah.
they can at least hang them in a walk-in. It's
Yep.
warm. It's rather than us trying to do it. And then deer season, we'll keep butchering our own. And then as my dad got older, he was like, I don't feel like standing in the garage all night.
Yep.
And just changed and
Yeah.
morphed
Yeah.
and morphed, and then I had friends that were like, no, we'll do cutting parties, and we all got
Yeah.
together and cut up 3 deer in a night. So
Yeah.
it always changed.
If I had a spot to do it, I would love to cut my own, but I just don't living
Eventually
in an
we'll
apartment.
have a spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Right.
absolutely.
So,
Well, it
It's
was
already
kind
on
of
my
funny.
building plans.
Cause
Cool.
the big question was, oh, where is it? Is that your house? And I'm like, no. Well, girlfriend comes home that night, and she's like, I was really worried I was gonna see it. And I'm like, no, it's already there. Already
Right.
taken. That night went to the butcher.
yeah.
So
But no, seriously, man,
Congrats.
Thank
freaking
you.
awesome. It
thank you.
was.
Couldn't have done it without you
And
guys.
it was just an awesome day. Like that really was. Like that's
It was a
I
great
couldn't
day.
I couldn't have thought of a better way to end a day. That
Brought
was
things
awesome.
back up.
Yep.
Morale, mood.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. So
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, we got nothing to update on. We haven't done anything except for hunt. So, like, we got
Yeah.
nothing except for, I mean, there's going to be a post coming up soon about what you're wearing on your
Yeah,
head.
there'll be some new hats coming out. And hit us up on Facebook or Instagram or any of them. Let us know if you're interested in hats, just so we know. Same for shirts. If you are interested in shirts, we still got some kicking around, but we can
Yeah.
do another order. We can change
do
the colors up.
yep.
I'm honestly thinking of doing some sweatshirts,
That'd be cool.
maybe. So
Still got
just let us-
stickers.
Yeah,
And
we
we
still
got
got
stickers.
stickers. So let us know if you contact any one of us if you have our numbers. Otherwise, on the page wherever.
Yep.
Let us know if you guys want something or want something specific, because we can probably make it happen.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So
Right on.
Cool, guys. Well, we good?
We good.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you.